to use for the bar that we had built. I then spent the rest of the day watching movies in my room. Day 193, I decided it was time to retire the orange Mustang in favor of the silver one. The orange one had been repaired so many times that each repair was becoming less and less effective. So I moved the Jeep and then transferred the accessories over. After that, I used the Jeep to pull that broken down old truck I picked up back on day 106 into the garage to repair it. It wasn't too tough to get the body back in good working order, and fortunately, I already had a few spare tires sitting around. The biggest thing was getting the spare engine parts, so I took out my motorcycle to go find some. On the way, I ran into a single zombie, and I took his hat. I grabbed some engine parts, and while I was at it, grabbed some more movies that I could watch like Breaking Points and Dead Wrong. And of course, I also grabbed the popcorn machine. Once I got home, I repaired the engine of the truck, and now all this guy needed was for its battery to charge overnight. On day 194, I had an idea that I was going to need some additional space for. So I opened up the wall a bit more on the fenced-in side of our base and began moving cars that I used less frequently out along the side of the fence. I thought with my new medical facility, we needed some proper first responder vehicles parked in these spots. So I ran over to where I spotted an ambulance the day before and brought it back home. I then ran over and grabbed the fire truck that had been sitting in the parking lot forever. Day 195, we were being raided again, but their attempts were futile. I sat comfortably on my wall and dealt with those raiders without breaking a sweat. I spent the rest of day 195 watching the sunset over Fort Matthew in my tower. With only 4 days left, I decided there was one last thing I wanted to do. I fueled up my vintage truck and set off to the little town next door to visit an old friend. I spent the whole day driving around looking for him. I was starting to worry that something may have happened to him, until finally I saw him posted up in the doctor's office. My old friend Ronald. Ronald had survived just as long as I had on his own, but I wanted to at least offer. Ronald kindly accepted, and it felt only fitting that Ronald Drake's call sign was Survivor. It was getting a little late, so rather than head back at night, I decided to stay one more night in the gas station safe house. This place had been a haven for me on multiple occasions, so I felt bad that I hadn't cleaned it up yet. I spent the next little while removing the weeds from around the apartment, and finally, this place was looking like a proper safe house. Day 197 started at 3 a.m. when I felt like something was wrong. Wraiths were coming, and this was not Fort Matthew. We were surrounded, and they were in the building. At first, I posted up keeping my eyes locked on the stairs, but it didn't seem like they knew we were up here. I heard footsteps in the snow, so I knew at least a few of them went outside. I took 2 out from the window, and then a third that came up the stairs. After that, I snuck out the back door and was able to catch them unaware. I have no mercy in my heart for raiders, and I took them all down. But clearly this affected Ronald, seeing as how he wouldn't move from that spot. I guess our experiences up until this point were quite different. Once we got back to Fort Matthew, I realized something. These last few days I had been playing house and getting fat, but if we were going to continue to survive, I needed to always be prepared. We got lucky at the safe house, but things could have gone very differently if they had charged up the stairs. Playtime was over, and it was time to change. I had gained some weight and stopped working out ever since I lost the treadmill in the fire, so on day 198 I ran up to the top of my tower and did squats for the entire day. Day 199, I spent the day patrolling around the base. These people trust me to keep them safe. We have nice things, but there will always be dangers, and I have to be ready for them. On the morning of day 200, I donned my heavy armor once more, and we thanked those who had fallen to make Fort Matthew a reality. Let them be the last. It's crazy to think about how far we've come. What had started